On the morning of February 9th, 2023, Crystal Jones made a doctor's appointment, but she never made it. Some say the investigation into her death is riddled with mistakes. Now, almost 2 years later, the family says they are haunted by questions that may never be answered. A West Carroll Parish Sheriff's deputy found Crystal Jones dead inside her home after Crystal's husband, Tony, called the deputy asking him to conduct a welfare check. According to the investigative report, just hours later, the chief deputy interviewed Crystal's husband for the first time.
I'll be taking the statement from Tony in reference to a self-inflicted gunshot wound of his wife, Miss Crystal McCrory Jones.
Crystal's sister, Jana, believes it should have been investigated more before the sheriff's office declared it a suicide.
It took them 7 minutes to interview him, and in that 7-minute interview, they mentioned that it was a self-inflicted gunshot wound.
Eventually, reports did come back. According to letters sent to state police from Jana's lawyers, those reports were full of errors and discrepancies. Jana says one glaring mistake made her question the entire investigation. The investigative report states law enforcement never found the shell casing. The husband did a week later. But Sheriff Matthews says the casing is pictured in the crime scene photos.
That's when I said something is wrong, because he said that that casing was plain as day in a crime scene photo that 5 sets of eyes had missed, and it wasn't there. It's in no crime scene photos.
As the investigation continued, Jana says the amount of errors kept piling up. According to the case file, the ballistics report misidentified the gun. You can see on the ballistics report, it identifies the gun as a Ruger EC9, but if you check the serial number, it's actually an LC9. The coroner's report had multiple mistakes, including Crystal's name being misspelled, incorrect birth and death dates, the time of death was scratched out and changed, and health conditions were listed that Jana says Crystal did not have.
It also listed that she had pneumonia and seizures. My sister never had any of those medical problems.
I talked to a retired police chief with over 20 years of experience in police work. He says when simple details are incorrect, it raises questions.
I don't want to criticize another law enforcement agency or somebody that's in that business, but the truth is the truth. And if you don't do a thorough job and get all the details right that are obvious, that would cause me to ask a lot of questions.
According to the case file, there was no canvassing of the area, no interview with neighbors, and there were less than 40 photos taken of the scene. In some photos, the family dog could be seen on the bed with the body.
They would handle things totally different if it was their loved one. I think that they just messed up from the very beginning.
Feeling like the West Carroll Sheriff's Department failed in their investigation, Jana reached out to one of the leading cold case private investigators in the country.
I believe the steps that were taken in Jana's sister's case has caused concern in the community, as it should. And that takes away the credibility of the sheriff.
We reached out to the West Carroll Sheriff's Department with requests for their policies and procedures to investigate homicides, suicides, gunshot deaths, as well as securing and photographing crime scenes. In an emailed response to KNOE, Sheriff Matthews said, quote, "We did not deny your request. We simply did not have that information to provide to you."
You got to have policies and procedures and protocols for how you go about doing things. There are certain steps that are just certain steps. I don't care if it's in Louisiana or Michigan or wherever it is. There are certain steps that you go through to develop a profile.
After being turned away by state police and the state attorney general's office, Jana and Sheila went to Washington, D.C. to ask lawmakers for help.
I believe that the city should probably start looking at Jana's case, because in my opinion, people have stepped out of the rules, and that makes the city have a problem.
I reached out multiple times to Sheriff Matthews for an interview to see if he could explain some of the errors in the investigation. At one point, he did agree to talk. On the day of our scheduled interview, he never answered my calls. He later told me he was no longer interested in speaking.
In the meantime,